Most players think calculation means seeing 10 moves ahead, but that's not true. Even Grandmasters rarely continue lines more than 3 or 4 moves. The difference is how we calculate this. Hi, this is Grandmaster Shahin. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm gonna talk about the difference between calculation of amateurs and masters. Now look at this position, guys. The way that amateurs usually calculate is, first of all, they try to stare at the position. They may assume that the move itself will say I'm correct, which is not the case. And after that, they may guess some ideas. Let's say, for example, rook takes b3, which is not gonna work because after queen e2, white loses the queen and it's losing. Then after that, may guess another idea, queen d1, which is also not working because after knight d4, black will rescue the knight and defend the pawn, and it's also not that good. And they may continue this way, and after white, they may lose on their top, they get tired, and they just play some random ideas, which is not the right way. So, what is the right way? The grandmasters use 4 steps to calculate better than amateurs. So, the first step is we try to evaluate the position, we try to understand where we are, we try to understand the long term plans and count the pieces on the board, which I talked about that on my previous videos. The second step is we try to choose some candidate moves. First of all, we try to choose some force moves. First, start with checks, captures, threats, and scan them quickly so we may find the potential ones that may be correct. That's the definition of candidate moves, by the way. So, for example, the checks, knight h6, knight f6 are both checks. The captures, rook takes b3, rook takes d6 are captures, and the threats are any kind of moves that we are attacking on our opponents. For example, queen d1, queen c2, even queen e3 attacking on the knight. Oh, there are many other threats on the board. But first, we start with checks. So between these two checks, the only one that makes sense is knight h6. Because knight f6 is useless. Black just take our knight for free. But knight h6, it will make sense. Why? Because after g takes h6, queen g4 check, king h8, rook b3. So that's a valid candidate moves. We may try to find another one, but don't try to find more than 2 or 3 candidate moves. And then we go to the third step, maybe the most challenging step. We try to evaluate and analyze those candidate moves one by one from both sides, not just our side. That's the difference between calculation and just planning. Planning means you are trying to do something just from your side, and calculation means you are considering your opponent's size too. So here we try to calculate knight h6 the way Grandmaster do. So after knight h6, obviously g takes x6 is not gonna work because after queen g4, I explained to you, after taking the black's knight, the position is at least slightly better for white. But what happens if our opponents plays the strongest move, king h8? Now again, or unwind, we try to use those 4 steps. So knight f7 could be a nice move, but it's not gonna work here because he will take back with the rook. And after queen c2, trying to take the knight and trying to mate, black would just play rook f8 and the position is equal after we take the knight. So we may look at rook f3, which is a better idea here, trying to make threats of the mate. So black cannot take our queen because of the rook takes f8 and it's mate. So rook f2 is the best move for black. Queen takes f3. Now from far behind, we would analyze that here black's first move is queen takes f1. Brilliant idea. The idea is if we take the queen after knight e2, it's fork and we are losing. But white has another brilliant idea, king h2. Now after king h2, white's plan, the first step, is try to mate on f8. So If, let's say, you're black, the second step is try to choose some candidate moves. If you just scan correctly, you will analyze and you would understand that the only candidate moves for black is rook b8. Then start again. What is the position? Going to the candidate moves. Third step, analyzing those candidate moves. We would analyze and understand that queen f7 brilliant move is the only one that white can escape losing, because after queen f7 threatening to play queen g8, rook g8, knight f7 mate. Black has to take on h6. Now after queen f6 is perpetual check and draw. That's the fourth step, guys. The fourth step is conclusion, understanding what happened after that. So usually this whole process will be around 3 to 5 moves. The academic way to define that is calculate until the position is clear to evaluate again. But 90% of the time it will be 3 to 5 moves. So that's the fourth step every master do to analyze and calculate the position. To summarize this part and give you some tips, we need to use these 4 steps. First of all, we try to evaluate the position. Second of all, we try to choose some candidate moves, the potential moves that maybe one of them are correct. Third of all, we try to calculate until the position is clear. It should be around 3 to 5 moves maximum. And the fourth is we try to conclusion one of the lines before going to the other lines and compare it and understand what happened after all of those moves. So some tips for you guys to get better on this process. First of all, from now on, try this 4 steps in your tactics and try to do calculation as tactics from any kind of source that you like daily. So set the position, try to ask these questions from yourself and try to practice daily, try to analyze those games. The second of all, try to find the common ways of them. So there are common themes on each tactics. For example, grandmasters do not usually start from the beginning. Some tactics are familiar to them because they repeat those tactics either in their own game or the other game that they studied many times. So those tactics are familiar to them. This way, in your real game, you would be much better. Another tip, guys, is try to analyze your own ways without engines, but with these 4 steps. If you understand that you made a blunder, you made something wrong, try to these 4 steps to understand which of those you have problem with and work on them to improve your calculation. And for final part and final tip, subscribe my channel. I will explain more of these items daily. This is GM Shahin. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.